two, three, four.
Hey everybody, welcome back to It's Okay to Be Okay. I'm Crystal, along with Melissa and Jen. I'm gonna let Melissa go ahead and take over with what we're going to talk about today.
Hi guys. So today we're going to talk about how when we're in that thought-nado of those emotions that we're feeling, how real our reality feels. Because what I find is when we're talking about this, some people really struggle to really see that it is our thoughts that are creating our whole reality. They're like, but how? How is that creating my reality? Because I feel it so deeply and it feels so true. And I want to use an example. So the other week I struggled with overwhelm, and it's one of my recurring things, overwhelm. When I feel like there's too much going on, I'm like, and then I get sucked down into that Thought-Nado, and I can't see outside of it because all I can do is feel. I feel the overwhelm. I feel like time constricting against me. I feel that anxiety. And even though I'm telling myself, I know this is just my thoughts, if someone was to come to me and tell me that it was just my thoughts and I didn't have this understanding, I would basically tell them to go fuck themselves. You know? So I really want to show like this really is our thoughts creating it. And I had so last night I had an idea just pop into my head when I'm trying to sleep. So as often when I'm trying to sleep that I'll get these ideas and I'm like, sake, I need to get out of bed and write it down. But I see it so I don't know if you know the emotional chart. I can't remember what it's called. You know, it starts from like love and it goes all the way down to like despair. So I'm gonna point here because I'm actually gonna edit it in this video. By the way, I'm gonna try. And there's this spiral, okay? And the spiral is going down and down and down. And up here is you're aware of your thinking. You know exactly what's going on. Down here is you are in the thought. You are the thought. But also over here, I'm not even going to do that because I'm going to point it in. But you've got like all the top frequency vibrations, like love, excitement, all that kind of stuff. And down here you have like the sadness, the judgment, the jealousy, the despair, the depression, and all that kind of stuff. And what I want to show people is that when you're outside of the thought, when you can see clearly, when you have that clarity, when you have that clear mind, you're up here, firstly. But sometimes when we have a thought or we think a situation is creating our circumstance or our experience, it takes us down into this spiral. Okay. And the further down that spiral you are, the more you feel it. And the more you feel it, the more you see it around you. And so it's like you're going down and then you're putting glasses over the top of you. And then you're going further down, and those glasses are getting darker and darker and darker until you're down here. And if you're down here and you're level with despair, you are only going to see at that level. Your whole reality around you is going to mirror that back to you. So you can have the same situation as someone else, and someone else could be up here in joy. You see the same external reality, but you've got two different realities. Not because the situation is different, but because you're seeing it from a different, you've got different coloured glasses on. And I really wanted to show that the further down you are on that spiral, and not only that, sorry, as you go down and you're at that level, you'll get more thoughts at that level. And because you're getting more thoughts at that level, you're feeling those thoughts, and that's putting you down in that spiral even further. We feel our thinking, and then we go down, and then we see more. Situations around us just kind of, see, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, because you're at that vibration. And now I've lost my train of thought.
I could hop in here a minute. I kind of want to say how, our minds we have parts of our brain that are made to make shortcuts for us, to make things easier for us. And when we get in those where things are starting to get darker and darker, that's where obsessive behavior comes in, addiction, anything where you're looking for that relief to be able to run from those thoughts. And the funny thing about that is relief is also just a feeling. And one thing that we've learned is that all of our feelings come from our thinking.
Yep.
So as we're going down, it's easy to get stuck in a loop, whether that be drugs and alcohol, sex, gambling, different modalities, and fixing yourself, working out. It doesn't matter. You know, it could be shopping online. We all have something that we do because somewhere in our heads we've made a shortcut that's going to make us feel better. And really, it's just running, it's hiding from it, and in doing so, it's feeding it more. And again, that's where the human mind is a powerful thing. So if you're looking for evidence to prove something, you're going to find it. If you're in that low state, that low mood where everything looks dark and gloomy and hopeless, you're going to look out and find 100 different reasons to back up that feeling. Whether they're there, whether they're true or not, because the next day you could wake up and look at the same exact thing, but feel a whole different way. And this understanding isn't about never feeling low again. We're human. We are going to have ups and downs. We are going to have days where the shitty committee is running the show. But with this understanding, we don't have to believe those moods. We don't have to believe that everything is hopeless, because once we see it's coming from inside of us, it's coming from our thinking. And then we learn that thinking is transient. It always changes. It's always flowing. And if you just stand back, it will change on its own. That's what this understanding is about. Because when you learn the 3 Ps, you're still going to have bad days. You're still going to have shitty days. You're still going to get caught up in your own bullshit. The difference is not taking it serious and riding out the wave because you know it's going to change, or believing you're stuck in this forever.
Yeah, and I love that because when I was dealing with that overwhelm, I was literally in it for like a day and a half. And I actually felt the moment it started to shift. Because overwhelm is one of those things where if I give it energy, it grows, and it really grows if I give it my attention. And so it wasn't until I said, right, I'm going to just allow it to be there, stop trying to change it, stop trying to change my thoughts. It was then that it started to lift. And only then. Because as long as we are trying to change it, we're feeding it. And also, I wanted to say about when we were at the bottom of that spiral, most of psychology these days in the society and that thinks you've got to go back up that spiral to be free. But you don't. You're one thought away from completely dismantling that spiral altogether. It's like a jump in consciousness. You don't have to make all that energy in going back up the spiral that you went. You can literally just go.
Yeah, and you know what I want to add to that too is when your awareness does grow, when you do have a shift and all that stuff, you don't even have to go all the way down the spiral. You recognize when it's starting and you acknowledge what it is. You know, it's a negative thought pattern that's coming through, you know, your atmosphere right now. And it's going to pass. But like you guys both said, as soon as we start to feed it, as soon as we start to believe it, as soon as we start to just give it even the tiniest bit of power, it's like a snowball effect from there. It can just keep going and going. So the wonderful thing too about the three P's is the fact that you're aware when these things start. And sometimes we might not exactly know why we're in the low mood thinking. And for me personally, and I don't know how you two do it, but for me personally, when I'm in low mood thinking, I don't care why. And when I say that, I mean, I'm not going to go looking for why do I feel like shit today? Why am I emotional today? Whatever the feeling is I'm having, I'm not going to go looking for it because when I look for it, I'm giving it a nice big fucking burger to eat
Yep.
and making that thing grow. So,
And I don't know about with you guys, but I know with me, it's like when I wake up and I'm in that low mood thinking, when I'm just able to be like, okay, this is where we're at today. It's a little stormy, and I'm not going to make any decisions today. I'm not going to push myself today, and we're just going to see where this goes. But it's like in giving it permission to be there, it starts to change. Like it softens a little bit just in that, okay, this is just where we're at now. This is where we're at right at this moment, and that's okay. Is it comfortable? No. Do I want to stay here forever? No. But I know I don't have to. This is just part of the journey. But it's when we're running from it or denying it or pretending like it's not there. Like, no, I mean, we're human. We're gonna have bad days. People are going to irritate us. We are going to get stuck in our thinking at times. And then it's once you become aware of it, it's like, oh, this is what's happening. I don't need to know why. I don't need to know when it's going to be over. I just know that it's going to be over. And in taking that step back and allowing it, it starts to soften and change.
Yeah. It's like two things. Like I had calls that didn't go to plan. And I was trying to fake myself into thinking, no, I'm fine, it's fine. But it wasn't until I said to myself, okay, no, or Dave actually said, like, you're not. I was like, no, I'm fine, I'm chill, and this happens, And I've said to myself, like, that's bullshit. I'm bullshitting myself. I'm lying to myself. I'm trying to pretend I'm okay. Why don't I just allow myself to feel the disappointment? The disappointment and, the feeling shitty about myself, feeling like I'm not good enough. And as soon as I did that, it passed. And then I did feel all right. And then I did see the good side and I did have clarity and I knew that this was all part. And also, when I was suffering with the overwhelm the other day, obviously when I started coming out, I remember the minute I started coming out of it because I was driving down the road and it's like I can feel it lift off me. It's like a heaviness just lifts off. And so I'm got such awareness now of when my mood, like, it shifts. And it was like, and instantly my thinking changed. And everything that I was stressing about the day before and thinking like, oh my god, this is so overwhelming. Now I was having completely different types of thoughts, the same thing, the same tasks, but this time I was like, oh, I could do that, that. And it just felt like completely different. What was the difference? My thinking. That's it.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love that you said that there, Melissa, because you said it at the beginning too. When you're down here and you're thinking is, sadness or overwhelm or whatever, and you're trying to work something out or whatever from that place. Well, yeah, that's the kind of answers that you're going to get back, right? Bullshit, overwhelming answers that just are actually stacking right on top of that overwhelm and making that weight so much heavier than when we just say, fuck it. Gonna pass, that's the beauty of this whole thing is that knowing that you're fine. it's going to be just fine. And just, I think you both touched on it, the allowing that space to give yourself that space. And that's the other thing I love that you pointed out too, Melissa. That whole where we think we have to pretend like we're fine. Like it doesn't bother us. It's all good. Fuck it. I'm good. I love that you pointed that out because it's not true. We don't have to be fine all the time. You know, we're human beings just like everybody else, right? And I think the sooner we recognize that it's okay to not be fine all the time, the easier that gets. Kind of like you said in one of those other episodes, Melissa. The easier it gets. Just release it. Yeah.
Yeah, the easier it is, and it's like you become like, I can't remember what you said earlier. You said something, and it reminded me of, oh yeah, you don't have to go all the way down because you have that awareness. You don't have to go down. Like now, I have this barrier where it's like, if I go below that, I'm like, I know I'm in dangerous waters, and I'm like, nope. So I used to be like down here, but now I don't go below there. And it's just like, okay, I'm feeling that. And that's another thing, like sometimes when we have that awareness and we shift from here to up here, a bit like what David used to say, like when you're here at this level and then you come up here, this is now your normal. When you go low, it feels worse.
Yes.
It feels more intense, but it's not. It's just that you've created a better, what's the word? But you're just at another level now. You're up here. So it's like it won't allow you to go as deep as you went, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't know. Your enlightenment level, you're a little bit more enlightened here. So yeah, even though you have this wiggle room in that enlightenment, like you said, I love it. There's that barrier there from the place you were before, your conscious awareness before any kind of aha, any kind of shift, any kind of glimpse of enlightenment, right? You can't get, you don't go back under there. But in this little space of your new one where you're here, you do have this wiggle room where, yeah, sometimes it's going to feel like shit.
Mhm.
But like you said, it's different, it's a different kind of shit. I'll
Yeah.
say that.
It's not so real. It's not so permanent. Because I know before, like, I would get something would happen, and then I would have a story, and knew how it was going to play out 100%. It was never in my favor. So, what was I going to do? I was going to burn the whole shit to the ground before I lost it. And because it was real, because it was intense, because that's just how it was. It was truth, I thought. From where I could see, that was my best choice. And so all this, I wanted people to understand that like this isn't a happy pill that just makes life wonderful and none of the bad things happen anymore, because that's bullshit and life still happens. The gift from the three principles is our realities aren't as real as they seem, meaning the thoughts that we've believed, the stories we've told ourselves are not truth. And the more we see that, and the more we recognize the stories that we tell ourselves, they don't hold as much power over us.
Yeah, because the thing is, our thoughts can be very hypnotic. And it's not just that we have a thought or a voice in our mind. We feel it, we sense it, we can taste it, we can touch it sometimes, we hear it. Our have you ever been to one of those places in like, I remember I went to years and years ago when I went to Disneyland in Florida. And it is watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something, and you're in that theater and the chairs vibrate and the wind comes at you and all that. You're in an experience.
Yeah.
Our thoughts do the same thing. They create a whole experience for us. And so that's why it feels so fucking real. Because it's not just a thought is not just words in your mind. It encompasses everything.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the Universal Studios and Disneyland and all those freaking amazing things where the experience feels so real. It feels like you are actually part of it. They're
Yep.
recreating this whole thing and it's all fake. None of it's real.
Like the
But
big
man,
wasp coming at you.
right. But
And
it
the
looked
chairs buzzed. Like the wasp and I'm like freaking out. I know it's not real,
Mhm.
but it still feels fucking real.
Absolutely. Kind of like when you
Yeah.
walk down a sidewalk, let's say in a path, like in the woods or something, and up ahead you see something on that path, and man, oh man, does it look like a snake, right? Automatically, there's that fight, flight, or freeze, right? And a lot of, for me, for snakes, freeze, bro. I don't want anything to do with it, right? But your whole like physiology inside you changes too. Your heart's racing, you're freaking out, you're totally scared, and you take a few more steps, and it's a damn stick that fell off the tree. So you freaked yourself out with your thinking, making that stick into something it was never, ever. So yeah,
And you've just reminded me of something else as well that I was going to talk about. So I'm going to put it back here again. The emotions. So up here, these emotions, these are producing some chemicals in your body. The good hormones. These down here are always producing stress hormones. Stress hormones are never good. Unless you're being chased by something or a madman with a knife, you know, you don't need these in your body. Those chemicals are meant to be just quick. But we're in a society that it's producing that all the time, and then we wonder why we're all fucking ill.
Yeah.
so
It's like
true.
if you look at it that way, like, okay, what thoughts am I having? Is it true? What chemical is this producing in my body? And
Yeah,
you just start looking at it like that way as well, and you're like, okay, I'm not feeling so good. So I know that my body is unbalanced.
yeah, yeah. Because the different chemicals. The one I was describing was adrenaline.
Mm,
And like you said, adrenaline can come in really useful if you're running from somebody that's, you know, trying to stab you, hurt you, harm you, whatever. Adrenaline can come in great, but in certain situations, our adrenaline bubbles up and we feel everything about it, and it was absolutely over nothing.
yeah.
But a simple little stick that we can walk up to, pick it up, and break that thing in half if we want to.
And we don't realize that we're in a perpetual loop of that chemical. We think stress, but you get an email from your boss that you don't like, stress. You get someone cut you off on the road, stress. And if we're unaware all the time, think about how much stress chemical you are putting in your body.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
That came to me last night while I was trying to sleep. Hey, quick pause. If you're enjoying this, it would mean so much to us if you'd hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. The more people this reaches, the more folks remember it's okay to be okay. Now, back to the podcast. See ya.
This whole thing, it's this all goes back to the inside out nature of life. Okay. Everything, our whole realities are coming from inside of us. And there are some things that protected us in the past. If you had trauma, you have a fear, and then you're overprotective, and that part of you came up because you needed it at one point. But then it started running the show. And it's still just a thought. it's a thought of, oh, this will protect me, maybe not a conscious thought. And but sometimes our spirals aren't even conscious. You know, sometimes we feel overwhelmed, we feel frustrated, we feel like we're going to cry, we feel like the whole world is closing in on us, and we're like, what the hell? Because I thought I was ignoring my thoughts. I thought that I understood this inside out nature of life, and what is this? And I guess going right back to what we said in the beginning, in the allowing. Once you become aware, you're caught up by something. Fear, stress, overwhelm, a spiral, it doesn't matter. It's the awareness. And then I think the hardest part for me is the letting it go. I think I spend a lot of time thinking about the principles when I'm caught up in myself. I think about what I should be doing with the principles to help this and why it's not helping. But all that is more thought as well. And uh, back to the one with the letting go. Every time we become aware, it's like we're letting go a little bit.
Yeah, and then it just becomes easier and easier and just more effortless. I also wanted to talk about the ego as well. Like we demonize our own egos all the time, not realizing that we're talking about ourselves still. You know, we separate ourselves and the ego as two different identities, but they're not. And the thing is, what is the ego? More thought. It's just a bunch of beliefs. I see it as like a bunch of thought that's been believed every single day for so long, and it's just become this mass. And this mass is in like this, we call it an ego. But it's just trying to protect us, and at that level, it's still just thought. Still just a bunch of thoughts going on in your mind.
You know, I think Sydney Banks said that our ego is our image of self-importance. Whatever we think our ego is, that's what it is.
Yep. Think.
Yes. Because the ego is our image of self. It's the concept of who we are instead of the essence of who we are.
Yeah, it's usually the part we identify with because it is feeding those stories on the negative feedback loops. It's, most of the time we'll notice it's not usually nice ever. It's always negative, and it's on replay constantly over the years. It's just building and building. And, it's like, oh, well, I like that freaking negative part of the story. So then we're going to go ahead and insert this here now, too. And this becomes part of it, too. And yeah, our egos grow so big with all the negativity and all the different programming and all the different limiting beliefs that, oh my God, they're so believable that you truly, honestly, that is who you think you are, because the ego will do everything it can to make you believe it, to make you stay there, to make you need it. Fuck the ego. Sorry.
But the ego is never now.
Very good
The
point.
ego is the past,
Mhm.
stress about the past or whatever, memories. The ego is worry about the future. But when you're present, when you are in the now, you're not thinking about who you are. Therefore, there is no ego.
Yeah, I like that. That's just switch something on there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a great way to explain it. Because, yeah, the ego is never the now,
No.
never made up of the now. Always past or imagined future.
Yes.
Which is thought.
Yes. Because ego is thought.
Yeah. The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. So the ego can't, because it's made of it can't be in the now.
Mm-mm.
And as soon as you start thinking, let's say for instance you're doing something and then you suddenly start getting anxious about it, that's because you're thinking about the future. Or if you're thinking, oh, no, that was bad, that's because you're thinking about the past.
Mm-hmm. Or
Really?
even when you're right now, but you're thinking about what somebody else is thinking about you. Oh, what are they going to think? What are they? That's still an imagined, a make believe story
Hmm.
that we are creating.
Yeah. And it really is amazing what our imagination can do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the ego is really good at reinventing ourselves, you know, into the next whatever. When it's like when you don't believe anymore sometimes, when you're stuck in the negative feedback loops, and let's say you break free from one of those negative thoughts, right? That you've been feeding for so long. It's like the ego then was like, all right, I'll transform. And now we're this, okay? So maybe it was I'm not good enough for that person to love me. And whatever reason that disappears, and the ego is like, well, hell, now you're not good enough for this. Now you're not worthy of that. It just kind of adds to it because it's just I don't ever have anything nice to say about ego.
And I see this a lot in the spiritual world. We become spiritual and then the ego tricks us. It says, oh, I'm being spiritual. No, that's still ego. That's just it uses whatever you throw at it and it adapts.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
kind of what I was trying to say there.
and it disguises itself.
Mm.
Like I was saying earlier, I noticed that now instead of feeding that loop, that spiral, I still stay stuck for a little bit because I'm feeding that, oh, well, I need to do this from the three principles to get past this. Or so it's changed. It looks different and it presents itself different. But really, it's that same, like you were saying, Crystal, that same negative thought, only transformed in disguise.
It reminds me of a movie I watched with what's his name? What's the guy? Funny, it's the guy in the Matrix. What's his name?
Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
That's
Keanu
it.
Reeves, yeah.
And
Sorry.
he's in a movie where he's Buddha. Have you ever seen that one?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so
Oh,
either.
and it shows all the ways his ego is coming up, like women and this. I have to find out what it was called again. You just look it up, you'll find it. But honestly, when I watched that, I instantly knew that it was the ego. And like Dave was like, "What's that? What's that? What's that?" I said, and he had like a whole army coming at him, and there was this big like captain type person, I can't remember what they're called, coming at him. And I was like, "That's the ego. That's the ego coming for him because he's getting closer and closer from destroying it."
Yeah.
And that reminds me of this, like that it would change its shape or whatever because essentially, if you don't need it, it dies. I would recommend going and watching that movie.
Yes.
And that's true. It's in survival mode. When we start to evolve and we start to shift in our awareness, the ego realizes for sure that it is becoming less and less important, so to speak,
Mm.
to us. And it tries really hard to just make us believe something, just to keep itself going and to keep those stories going and serve a purpose. And yeah, it's beautiful when it eventually.
Mhm.
Do I think it's ever completely gone? Absolutely not. It will always come back here and there. I just think in different ways, different levels, different faces, different disguises, whatever you want to put on there. It does have a way of trying to creep back in, but it's a lot easier to notice and call it out for what it is.
Well, and I really want to hope that there's a point where, we hit a point and then the ego isn't so much an enemy as a tool.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it is just a tool, but we don't know how to use our minds. We don't know the kind of how our system works. Well, you do when you understand the three principles, but generally speaking, you're not grown up taught how to use we don't have a manual.
Yeah.
So the mind does what it wants, like an untrained dog.
Yes.
If you don't train a dog, it goes fucking crazy, goes wild, runs around the house and bloody eats your pillows and all sorts, eats your socks. you know, it it hasn't had the boundaries. It hasn't been taught. And so that's why we get a lot of people that are struggling mentally because their imagination, their thoughts are literally taking them on a trip down, either up or down, it doesn't matter.
That's what my bipolar was. I mean, really, it was just how I was relating to the constant nonstop loop of thought and it coming in from all different directions and it having that beat down that you're not good enough, don't even try, don't even, because I was safe where I was at. Why move from here?
Mm.
But I think all mental illnesses, they manifest different for everybody, but it's all comes back to thought and how we relate to our thoughts, how we believe our thinking. I thought my thinking was true.
Yep.
And then there was the other part of me that didn't. And so I was in this constant battle. I was in this constant battle trying to prove that I was good enough while at the same time believing that I wasn't worth anything. And it was just back and forth, up and down, and going so fast that I couldn't keep up. And there were days where getting out of bed and showing up was my 100%. That was all I could muster.
Yeah. And I love I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it George Spransky. Did you hear about the the guy that suffered with schizophrenia and all that kind of stuff in the home for like 40 plus years?
Hmm.
Was that him? I can't remember if that
I,
was.
I think so.
Yeah, and I love that story because it just shows like he was on all kinds of medication. He had so many diagnoses and he was cured like that in one thought. Because George Pransky, if that was him, was giving a talk in like a mental institute, and this guy, he was suffered for like 40 plus years. He was in between the hall and the corridor in the doorway, and he was talking to like imaginary friends, someone that wasn't there, and all of a sudden he starts laughing. He's pissing himself laughing, and then the whole room erupted in laughter, and then once the laughter calmed down, George asks him what was so funny. And he says, I've been doing this to myself. And then just like that, God, 40 years. Yeah, and they followed him 3 years after as well, and he was completely fine, off all meds. I think when we hear stuff like that, when people say, "Yeah, but you know, uh, it's not fault, really, is it?" But yeah, it is.
I thought that too. And I was, I came to this understanding and I refused to get off my meds for over a year because, I did not have a good track record of going off my meds before. It usually ended up with us living in our car and me selling everything and just wasn't good. And so I was afraid to get off my meds. I was afraid to do it. And I finally did on January 1st. And I still have those thoughts, those whizzing, loud. Well, they're not loud anymore. They don't come up nearly as often. And when they do come up, I can see them for what they are and do something different. I don't believe them. I know they're not truth. And I know that they won't consume me. And I don't have to fight and battle with them. If there's a thought that I'm stupid, well, that's fine. That thought can be there because whose thought is it anyway? Why am I going to spend all my energy fighting that thought? I don't need to. I just don't have to engage with it.
Yeah, and that comes back to what I was saying, I think the last time, where we have sounds outside of ourselves, the dog, the TV, the washing machine, and we can so easily tune those out if we want. But as soon as that voice or that noise is inside your head, oh, that must mean it's true. If you're hearing a sound outside, you're like, oh, whatever. But just because you have something inside your head, we think, oh, that's me. That must be true. But it's not, you're just picking up. Sometimes we pick up on other people's thoughts. You watch a movie, you'll get a dark thought. If you watch a murder film, sometimes you'll get dark thoughts after. But that's not your fault. It's just that you've been in that environment and that's what you've picked up. Like a algorithm. You watch that cat video, you're gonna get cat video. You're gonna get cat thoughts. No, so not every thought that comes into your mind, one is yours and two is true. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
And we can't choose what thoughts pop into our head. We can try and control them, but that's a lot of fucking effort. Believe me, it is.
Pointless.
And pointless. And you don't often believe the words you're saying anyway. But you can't choose the thoughts that pop into your head, but you can choose whether or not you believe them.
Whether or not
You
you
can
feed them.
choose whether or not you're going to engage with that fucker.
Yep.
That is in your control.
That's the only thing in our control.
Literally.
Love that.
Yeah.
Woo!
You ego.
I thought this, what was it? I'm going to say a funny story. I don't know why, it's just come to my mind. So I don't know why it come to my mind. But you were talking about lamppost earlier, Crystal. And this funny story reminds me. So I was with my cousin and we was walking down the street and there was these workers on a house and I was wolf whistling them. I can't even whistle anymore. Since I have my teeth done, I can't whistle. But I was whistling at them and all of a sudden, bang, straight into the fucking post. And then they were all fucking pissing themselves laughing. Wolf whistling back me, and I was just like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't know why I was telling that story. It just popped into my head, so I thought, I might as well share it since
Why
it's there.
not? I loved it. That was great.
That.
We've all
I
done
walk
something.
into things a lot, so
Yeah.
it always makes me feel better when other people walk into things too.
Yep, I do it with style.
I don't walk straight. I don't walk in a straight line. I just kind of
Oh, that's brilliant.
I don't know. You guys have anything else to add?
No, I guess stop believing your shitty thoughts.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. You know? And stop taking everything so seriously. Like, when I was on this healing journey, I took it so fucking seriously and I stopped having fun. And I want people to come into this space and realize it doesn't have to be, oh no, I need to sort myself out. I need to fix myself. I'm broken. I need to do this. Fuck it.
The hardest part about the 3 principles is stop thinking about the 3 principles and go have fun.
Yep. Like, yeah, but how do you do that?
Absolutely.
Stop. And that is the only time that I free myself of the thoughts that I don't want to be with, is when I say, okay, I'm allowing you to be there. I'm accepting you. And then they just drift off. I forget about them.
Yeah. As soon as you like give them the permission, you know, you give them, you sign their little permission slip, and they're like, "Well, damn it! Now I'm
Now
not
it's fun to
bothering
be in
her.
here.
Yeah, it's no fun anymore. I'm not pissing her off. I'm not upsetting her. I'm not doing any of that shit. So I might as well just go ahead and move on."
Mm-hmm.
I love the way that you said that, because yeah, that's just how I pictured it. Is yeah, once it's like, well, you know, it's like that annoying sibling, little sibling, you know, that wants to poke you in the face and be like, "I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." You know what I mean? And as soon as you don't feed into their little game of "I'm not touching you,"
They get bored.
they get
Yep.
bored and they move on. They find something else to do. So as
Mm-hmm.
soon as we, you know, stop playing games with our thoughts, they'll move on. They will move on, move out, and give you clarity. And poof, that's the
And I
best thing.
love that.
Nice.
Amazing. So I think that's a really good thing to end on today. Like, I love today. It's been really quite chilled. And I think we can end it there. I'm not going to try and pretend I'm this professional podcast anymore. I'm just going to say this is the end of our podcast today. And I hope you enjoyed it. And we look forward to the next one. And if you have any questions or anything you want us to ask, just write in the comments.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe and share. And thank you.
We'll see you next time.